Performance?
Performance. Okay, let's start with
I
performance.
don't know. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do performance. So who's been dealing with performance?
No, I think last time we talked a little bit about the fact that Wing is still in alpha, and there are many dimensions of the project that are still not finished. Some functional stuff, but also non-functional stuff, like stability and coverage and performance, obviously. And we all believe performance is almost the number one feature, because we're here to bring back the flow for developers. If this thing is going to be slow, it's not going to do it, right? If this is going to be a clunky solution, it's not going to work. And so we haven't been super intentional about performance at this so far. And as you said earlier, we're kind of starting to get to the point where we feel like maybe we can start building stuff with Wing. And as we've been starting to build stuff with Wing, we're like, it turns out it's not really working.
I mean, one of the items, we have a bunch of things to fix into performance. We have Bring.js AI, which is slow right now, and we can't really demo it, right? So one of the things you kind of came across that you couldn't demo and you wanted to demo was the performance of multiple in-flight methods. Is that?
In-flight methods, in-flight functions, basically.
In-flight function, not something that we usually use a lot in Wing, but maybe
the only probably important thing to demo. No, I think I love it, right? I feel like, we're building a programming language from the context of a startup company. And that's an interesting journey. I feel like we're not in the academia, we're not a non-profit foundation, we're not in big tech, which is usually where programming languages come from. And so we're doing it in a very kind of startup-y way, which means that we need to try and understand exactly where we're going, how we're going to deliver, the first and initial product, so we can get feedback from users and make sure that we're building the right thing. We can't afford not to build the right thing, right? That's and we're taking a very ambitious goal, for ourselves. And so trying to make sure that we're actually minimizing the amount of work that we're doing is a big challenge, right? It's always have these constant conversations about what goes into what's part of the beta, what's not part of the beta.
Our surface area.
What's the surface area that we want to maintain initially? And so all of that stuff is fascinating, I feel.
No, it's a fascinating journey.
But I was actually on a holiday last week, and I had a flight. And flights are, I should probably fly all the time, basically, because flights are the best place for me to work.
For you,
Because
I can find myself working.
Because this is where I can be in the flow. I don't have internet. And that's actually really amazing. And it's a really interesting kind of relationship to what we're doing with Wing, because one of the cool things about the Wing stack is that you can actually build your cloud applications without the internet. Offline. And so
when you say without the internet, it's not about the internet connection. It's the fact that you don't need to go into the internet to check
but it's also about doing it in an airplane.
Why? Why do you need to do it?
Because this is the perfect time for me to work. I get into my little seats. I keep ordering coffee.
You sit in the back of the seat, on the back of the plane, right?
Yeah, sometimes just to put some movie, I had this one flight where the guy next to me, after 14 hours of flight, he was like, we were landing, and he was like, dude, were you working for 12 hours straight?
Wow.
I get into this crazy zone.
So kind of mindfulness flow.
Awesome.
Which is the best place to be.
It's the best place.
It's the best place to be.
And I need tools to make sure that allow me to be in that place. And when I've been building stuff, for the AWS CDK, and I constantly needed to deploy things, and it's like I couldn't do it in flights, which is pretty frustrating. But regardless, I was in a flight, and I was like, okay, we gotta fix some performance stuff. Like, we gotta make sure that this thing is. And I realized that we had a pretty low-hanging fruit in terms of performance, which is we used to You know what? Let me show you the benchmark. Great. I think like that's probably a good.
Probably the best place to start in performance with a benchmark. So let's see if we have this screen working. Nadav, do you have the screen showing? A large screen? Okay, great.
Okay,
great.
Okay, so we've got a little benchmark here of a bunch of Wing applications, Wing programs. One creates defines a bucket. The other defines 5 buckets.
Okay.
One defines a single in-flight cloud function
with an in-flight method.
With an in-flight method. And this one defines 5. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
And this benchmark here, you see we have the old wing and the new wing. So I'm gonna do this and run it with the old wing and see what's the.
Okay.
So this is 0.5146.
Right.
But one bucket took 50 milliseconds.
Half a second.
500 milliseconds, half a second. One in-flight took 6 seconds, which is already too much.
Yep.
5 buckets also took half a second.
Yeah.
And then we're still waiting for the 5 in-flight functions. And this is me kind of like going to get another coffee, right? Yeah. 26 seconds for 5 in-flight functions, and it's actually O of number of in-flight functions. So every in-flight function takes. Yeah. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, there is a suspect, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been realizing that what we've been doing is we've been actually bundling every in-flight, every cloud function into a JavaScript bundle, because this is what we're doing in the cloud. When you need to run your cloud application in AWS Lambda or in Docker containers, you actually need to bundle all of the dependencies and make sure that it's self-contained. Yeah. But when you're running locally on your local machine in the simulator, you have everything local.
Right.
There's really no need to bundle.
Right.
And we've had a conversation about it, and Mark was saying, it's actually reducing our fidelity, right, for the local experience. And I was saying, well, our fidelity is completely different.
What do you mean when you say reducing our fidelity?
So
it creates
a difference. It creates a difference between how your local experience behaves and how your cloud behaves. Yeah. But
we should that difference is going to be filled by testing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's a really important design tenet, right, for Wing. Yeah. The whole idea of the way Wing is designed is to enable that difference, right? Because we're creating an abstraction, we're creating a contract.
Right.
We are going to take responsibility to make sure it's guaranteed to work across the providers, right?
Right.
And so if no, that's not going to work.
Not going to work? Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I have enough battery.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think the fidelity of like how we bundle our functions is the least of our problems, right? Like a queue in the Wing simulator is an array in memory, right? Like that's not the same as an SQS queue or an Azure queue.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's an interesting point because I think this is emphasizing the power of this solution, right? Because this solution gives us the ability to make the right decisions based on the developer's requirements, right? And in our case, the optimization and for the flow.
Interesting. So till now we had the kind of the Lambda function and the local host, the cloud implementation of the function and the simulator implementation of the function, they were both kind of bundling the same way, running differently because on the very differently. And when basically you looked at this, you saw that the fact that the ES build dot bundle something takes a long time. You said we can change this because this is not what we rely. They can also be bundled differently. The only thing that's important is that they function the same. Right. And that will be achieved by testing.
Right.
Awesome. Testing that will run on the simulator.
And I'm sure we will have discrepancies.
Bugs. Of course.
But we can fix them, and we'll make sure that they will constantly get better. We'll get better and better at guaranteeing that the contract that we have in our SDK works across all the providers, including the local provider.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So let's see the new version.
Okay, so did you do VI? Okay.
I'm gonna just use Wing, the globally installed, which is...
We're gonna see it in a second. We just edited it. Okay, 6.1. This is Mark's new version with nice, man. Nice. So
fun.
half a second for everything.
Half a second for everything. O of 1 in a sense. So it's not dependent on the number of inflate functions. And I feel that's beautiful. Again, it's about the architecture.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome.